Diets and workouts, you've done the work, so why can't you get to your goal weight? That's because up to 70% of your weight is predetermined by your genetics. So while you've been told that it's all about your willpower, you're actually fighting your biology. Don't do it alone. Found's Doctor Design program uses medication as part of a treatment plan that targets your body's unique biological needs, so that your body works with you and not against you. Take the quiz at joinfound.com to see if Found's weight loss program is right for you.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat Questions podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor, and it starts right now. Now, let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here's your host, GoPowerCat.com publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to this special edition of the PowerCat Questions podcast, and we're on video also here in the WTC Gig Powered Studios. Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of Go PowerCat, Hank Jacobs, director of football operations, and Taylor Braet,
The Braet,
director of football recruiting. You guys got director titles. It's badass.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Whew.
It's a little scary.
Do you have like a little clique at work where you say, "Oh, you're not a director"? I don't.
Yeah, like a coffee club.
That's good.
Yeah, tell Ryan.
So this is a bastardized version, if I want to use that word, of our questions podcast, where we just take questions from our subscribers at Go PowerCat, and these are for you. You guys take them as who wants them. Both. You can talk at the same time. We have very smart listeners. While the staff, this is from K-Ned, one of our veterans. While the staff had an entire year to recruit this time, isn't recruiting often a 2-year cycle in terms of building relationships? If so, how far behind the 8 ball have the staff been, even with the 2020 class, in getting kids to listen?
Yeah, I think it's a 2-year. I mean, you're always building, and the relationship's the most important thing you can do. So, we missed out on some of the junior recruiting for this class, because this staff wasn't here yet. So, with what we can do now, already ahead, I mean, it's going to help us definitely in the future with 2021 and 2022.
And really for fans, Hank, it kind of only showed up with Kansas kids. I mean, there were some visible Kansas kids that had built up relationships that was hard to catch up on.
It was a great year in Kansas high school football as far as recruiting goes. And we got some really, really good players from the state of Kansas. I mean, Nate Malek's a good football player. Cody Stuffelbean's a good football player. Taylor Warner, I mean, they came to camp. They kicked some people's asses. I mean, it was impressive. It's just you miss out on a half a year. We got hired in December of last year, and we had to catch up. And I don't want to make excuses, but that is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
And then you're trying to just figure out what you just got, what they're getting, and what we got to finish just before February, let alone work ahead.
Plus, we're slotting different scholarships and positions and trying to figure out what we need to recruit, trying to figure out our own roster and go after the kids that we want to try to get.
Following up, he's got a second question here about Kansas kids. I'm going to tweak it a little bit. I look at kids like Stuffelbean and Warner and think these kids fall through the cracks because they don't get as many games. There's not much film on them. You don't have that much experience with them, and then you see them in person and go, oh, God, this kid could play.
Yep, that's why that camp is so important. And the hard part is when you get emails later from kids in Kansas, and it's like, why didn't you come to camp?
Mm-hmm.
Now you want me to recruit you. You got okay film, but I'd like to see more. I'd like to see how you take coaching. Do you hustle between drills? That's why with the Kansas Cats, you got to come to camp. And someone play multiple sports, like Cody Stuffelbean. He's an unbelievable basketball player, a good track thrower. I mean, that helps with their development.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Kleinman's a lot like Coach Snyder in the fact that you're a multi-sport guy. You get to show them things that you don't maybe see just off football film.
The kids are just more well-rounded, and they've can figure out different situations and different challenges, and have been in more competitive situations if they are 3-sport athletes as opposed to just training all the time. And we do look for that. So
Incredible Goal wants to know, was there a recruiting battle that kind of went down to the wire, one that was intense that you really weren't certain about? It seemed like things went as planned.
Yeah, I thought they went pretty well. I thought T. Denson got stressful at times because I don't know. In my time, we haven't had a kid take 5 official visits or take all 4 of them before us leaving us the last official visit, knowing that you have to knock this visit out of the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
And, even though he said when he was leaving, it's going to happen, you just don't know. You just don't know. I mean, it's that was the battle, a great battle this year, and I'm glad we came out. I mean, he had TCU. I mean, he went and saw some places. So I mean, that was the competition, and he chose to come to Kansas. Come to Kansas State. And
there's a lot of battles that happen right away, just because of the way that we do our process. It's a battle to get them interested right away, especially for kids out of state. And once we do and we get them here, that's the initial part of it. Then we can show them what we're made of and what Kansas State's all about.
Williams Wingman wants to know this. Some fans are under the impression that you needed more help at receiver than you got in this class. Can you explain your thought process on putting?
I think the staff was pretty excited with the underclassmen at that position. With Keenan Garber, some of those guys, Malik when healthy. I think Sebastian did a good job stepping up this year. I think that's it, and I think that, and the kid we got committed today, Jalen Travis, he's got unbelievable hands. He catches every single ball that was thrown to him at camp. I mean, he did not have a drop, and he was a kid that went out and competed. So I think it says that hey, we're confident in what we got too.
And we hit on some walk-ons, and you're limited to 85 scholarships.
Right.
Phillip Brooks is going to be a good football player. He's a redshirt freshman. Joaquin Gill is a junior. He's coming back. Landry Weber, he's a sophomore. He's coming back. Taylor and the previous staff did a great job of recruiting those walk-on kids. And, wide receiver, you take another one in this class, what are you taking away from?
Right.
Because it's a numbers game, and there's challenges in that.
And you guys really pushed the numbers today. You left a few openings for later on, but you're, for the most part, done until something comes along.
Exactly.
That's really good.
Yeah.
The dot two, what needs to happen for a staff such as you to lock down the Kansas borders a little bit better and maybe the metro area? Is that possible?
I think a full recruiting cycle is going to help us.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't like to make excuses about last year, but I mean, the more time you have to talk to these kids and hit them up every day, write handwritten letters to them, make them graphics. I mean, we're constantly bombarding them, and it's just going to be, we get another half year to keep building those relationships and build the relationships in those high schools that are very important in the state.
You mentioned the graphics; they were incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
our graphics guy is awesome.
Bo Savage.
Great.
The theme today was just amazing.
Bo, he is the leading rusher in Kansas football history or something?
Leading touchdown passes in the state of Kansas.
Hell of a high school athlete.
From 8-man football.
I had no idea when we hired him, but another Kansas kid.
Dad was also a coach, a guy who loves football. And I think, you hire these guys who love football and love Kansas State, it helps because he's got more drive and he's driven to see this place succeed.
That's awesome.
He killed it today. I mean, he did a great job.
Not a Legos guy. I don't have kids, but I appreciate it.
No,
I think Legos, they appeal to everybody. That's
they do.
I think it all the kids liked it.
Let go. Yeah. Let's go. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. The building blocks, we're building something, I mean, there's a lot of different little fun things.
In that vein, Snarecat3 asks, is there going to be further expansion to the recruiting staff? I mean, are you going to bring in some more peoples?
Yeah, we will.
What type of things will they be handling?
Director of player personnel, some scouting stuff. Taylor needs some help just with recruiting kids. No, Taylor does a phenomenal job. We need a little bit more help, and we'll look at that down the road. And
what is the process? Wildcat Pilot 88 wants to know, what's the process for kind of identifying the talent? Did you just go through so much film, your eyes bulge out?
I mean, you do. I mean, you go through emails, you go through recruiting services, you go from hearsay, you go from coaches, what they find on the road. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to find a kid or see a kid. You're always open to look at every kid. I mean, and then after that, you get it in front of a position coach. You look up how things are going. You got to track down, all the background information you can too before you make a jump. Yeah. So it's a lot of wheels are spinning once you find a guy or all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of wheels spinning that you don't really care for either. I mean, that's not the fun part of recruiting.
But for you guys, those camps, those clinics you go to, the satellite camps, I don't want to get into what you did before and what you do now, but that has really become a thing in recruiting.
Yeah,
I mean, and you guys are using the camps a little bit differently than have been in the past.
Yeah. We went out and really got after the satellite camps this year. I mean, we were from Georgia to St. Louis to California, Texas. We did a really good job. Chicago. We were active at all those camps, and that's all information, and you get to put eyes on guys, and guys that you might not get here. So, I mean, that's why that's a pretty important deal.
It's a chance to say yes or no going into a camp as well.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we want to get these kids here because Kansas State has so many great things to offer for a student athlete, and for them to, we can showcase that in one of our camps in Manhattan, but you still have to, and some of those times you're going to those satellite camps to get a kid to your camp. So
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yo Mama, one of my favorite names on this site, wants to know this. Have the recruits and their families' attitudes towards K-State changed during the course of the season as your success built? Did they get a little more receptive, or you guys were done so early with a big chunk of this?
I mean, I think all of our committee, gosh, anytime you win, it helps. But it's the relationship that starts the recruiting process. But, I mean, it was all these kids have really been interested, especially local kids more and more as we go along. So,
yeah, it gives us a better chance, I think. Kids like to win. They like to see us win, and it helps us get them to campus, I think. Yeah. Especially for the 20.
Yeah, and the more you win, the bigger your brand gets, too,
Yeah.
And that's the more you get seen, the more media talks about you. I mean, that's the important part of it.
Well, you mentioned the junior college guys, and you had the surge here at the end with 3 of them really kind of jumping on board. Obviously, winning helps. But also, Coach Kleiman is not a junior college guy in terms of recruiting. 5 might have been a little more than I expected, but were they just at needs that were too good to pass?
We had 27 graduating seniors, 5 O-linemen, 3 D tackles, 2 corners. I mean, that's kind of that get guys in, let's build depth. I mean, we rotate the D-line. So, I mean, you're getting in, you're helping the guys you already got, you're giving them breathers, in this league, it's a DB and DN league. I mean, you can't have enough DN true rushers and DBs that can cover some of these wideouts. So it was important to get out there and just at least build our depth and competition.
Power Cat Ryan, he wanted to know about the camps and recruiting. He also wants to know, is there one kid that jumps out to you in terms of personality that the fans are going to love? Is there a real...
Gosh. We got a bunch of characters in this class. Jay Harris is...
I was going to say, Jay and Tripper are hilarious. I'm on this group Snapchat with all these guys, and, I mean, it's constant fun stuff.
Yeah. Whit Mitchum is... I think he's a little bit more outgoing than people would think. Deuce Vaughn's such a great kid. Yeah. Obviously, Derek Newton...
Yep.
A little bit wild.
You just said something. You're on this group Snapchat with these kids. Social media, we talk about
TJ Smith.
You guys being able to follow kids and get to know them a little bit and find out their faults, how they handle themselves.
No doubt. I mean, it's kind of a sight when the kid won't add you back.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not your typical adult, but...
Oh, no, I think you were safe in that.
Yeah, no doubt. But, I mean, you get to see a lot about the kids, and... you get to see things, too, that, like you said, warn you. You get to see things, too, that you're like, man, this kid really got some stuff to him that you really appreciate.
The second side of that, though, is you can put them together then in social media and start forming the bond where it's harder for a kid to peel off. He's already got a fraternity going with these guys.
He's already built a bond within his own teammates. They're matching up roommates. You got a lot of things working in that direction that you want.
It's really cool. Contra Cat noticed that every recruit was posing the all-whites. Did the kids really like them, or is that was just a choice you guys made?
We gave them every opportunity to put on whatever they wanted, and that was the choice.
They're sweet. The all whites are sweet.
It does look clean. I mean, it looks, especially when it's all the purple background. We put them in the tunnel. We do those things.
It's something different too. I mean, kids like to be different.
Of course they do. So do I. Herdez Joe. Let's wrap it up with this. How big of an advantage was this cycle, Hank, compared to the last cycle where you guys were just in scramble mode?
Yeah, just more time, and we were still figuring out our roster last year. That was probably the most challenging thing. Where
you didn't know what you really needed.
Where are we good at? Where do we need to go out and get kids right away?
Figuring out roster, figuring out practice times, and we were figuring out a lot of things.
Yeah, just more time to evaluate kids and get to know them, and them to get to know us, get them on campus. I mean, it's been huge to have more time, and I'm looking forward to having a full cycle with the class of 21.
Yeah, I mean,
and 22 and 23, and
right. That's when it really
just kind of
builds steam.
That's what you want to keep going. I mean, it doesn't stop. Like today, when we go home, I mean, I'll still be tweeting and snapping kids. I mean, it just never stops.
is on to 21 and 22, or
That's it.
22 and whatever
Not 22
it is.
yet, 21.
Yeah. So it's just amazing. Well, guys, thank you very much.
No, thanks for having us.
Yep. That will do it for the first half of this special PowerCat Questions podcast from the WTC Gig Powered Studios. On the other side of this break, we will take it to the Chris Kleiman press conference and just give you some of the questions and answers from the media. We will be right back.
Stay locked in. The PowerCat podcast will be right back.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
We now send it back to Fitz in the WTC Gig Powered Studios.
Welcome back to the PowerCat Questions podcast. Here in the second half of the podcast, we are going to take you to Chris Kleiman's press conference. Pretty simple. He answered 19 questions from members of the media, including an opening statement. We will just cut to the chase, and I'll tell you what the question was so we can get it going. Here we go with his opening statement.
Okay, guys, I'll be brief in my statements. We can get to some questions, but excited about the amount of kids and the number of guys that we signed for our early signing period. The early signing period is becoming the signing period now, and we identified positions and identified some players, and really proud of our staff. We thought we did really well today. Obviously, time will tell, but we're really excited about the class that we signed. Obviously, we're in the middle of finals. We're in the middle of game prep. Part of the reason that we're heading to practice is we have one small window because the guys are having finals until 3:50 and then start up again at 6:10. And so our window to practice is really about 3:50 till about 5:30 or so. So that's kind of why I'm in a little bit shorter time period today. But prep's going well. We're probably 4 solid days into it now, and excited about where we're at, and the guys are working hard. I know they have a lot on their plate, but they're doing a good job of separating their academics from their football once they get over here.
First question about the junior college recruits and how decorated they were and how important they are in this class.
Well, the awards aren't a big thing to me. We just saw those guys being a fit. We were able to obviously evaluate film, but more importantly, see practices, and that was the key, is to be able to see some guys run around in practice, and we were able to do that during the 2 weeks when we were out. And obviously, you're right, those are two big areas, the defensive tackle position specifically. We needed to try to fill some holes because we're losing a lot of seniors there, and then one defensive end, and then offensive line. Obviously, we lose a lot of guys there, so it's another area that we're happy with what we've done.W still doing some work there too.
Carver Willis was one of the players spotted at a K-State camp.
You know, we saw the physicality in film. We wanted to see the athleticism, and the athleticism was there in camp, and that was a big thing that we needed to see, and Coach Riley needed to see, was ability to sink his hips, ability to move his feet, ability to have good hand placement. You could tell he was a technician, and so once we saw him do those things, we felt pretty comfortable.
What do you like about this group at corner?
Length. You know, that's the biggest thing that we see is that we need to continue to recruit to is length. You know, getting some size there. We know that we need to have corners that, even the guys that are on our team, and we've talked to those guys, we need heavier guys. We need guys to be able to put on 10, 15, 20 pounds at the corner position. You always want a guy that's taller. That's ideal. But we need length, we need weight, we need all those things. And that's not only the guys we have coming in, but the guys we have coming back too. But because we need to get bigger and stronger there.
Talk specifically about T. Denson.
Really smart player, won a state championship in Georgia, played an awful lot of football. They do an awful lot at his high school, so he was a really intelligent kid, has the length, has the size, competitor, and obviously he's a young player, but we feel he has an opportunity to compete right away.
What do you like about Will Howard?
His favorite player is Carson Wentz. You know, that's for starters. That was obviously a big sell, and when he and his folks sat in my office and saw the pictures of Carson Wentz and knew my background with Carson and the success that Carson had within the system. But he's a really, really smart football player. He's athletic. He's got a really strong arm. He's a guy that's a sponge that wants to learn, and he comes at semester, which is huge for us to be able to get him in. Same thing with Jaron last year. I think that's a big advantage to get those guys in at semester. And so we're excited to continue to bring competition to the quarterback room.
What is the importance of Will Howard arriving early to campus in the spring?
Well, just being around Skyler for starters, I'm excited because he can be a sponge to Skyler for a year, with Skyler having a year of eligibility left, and be a sponge to Colin Klein, who's done a phenomenal job with Skyler, and just getting around our older guys, getting around the system, getting around Coach Mess as well. And Will's excited about that. Will, he's had it planned out so he could go wherever he was going to go at semester, and we were fortunate enough to land him this summer and then be able to hold on to him for 6 months. And so I'm so excited because he has really good ability, and he's got the ability and the want to learn what we're doing.
His thoughts about Deuce Vaughn.
He's an electric guy. He's a home run hitter, and that's something that we're excited about. He's got great quicks, but he's got a second gear, too, to take it the distance. Excellent receiver out of the backfield as well. Really good hands, and so he will allow us to do a lot of things, whether we have him in the backfield, which we plan on, putting him flexed out like we've done with Phillip, return game. You can't have enough explosive players, and he brings that to the table.
What spots still need to be filled?
We still are looking for every position. I mean, there's nothing that we're going to say, well, we're filled up there. We're looking for every position, and so as we go out in January, we don't need as many because we signed a number of guys, but there's nothing that we feel like we can't help or enhance our football team. We have a number of guys coming back, but we need to continue to fill our roster with quality, great character, great integrity guys that want to be K-State Wildcats and are going to do all the little things right to be successful, not only on the field, but more importantly off the field. And that's the thing that we're looking for, is it's still a fit. You have to have high character and high integrity to be in this program, and the talent level will rise to the top when you have great players or great people here.
Discuss how they bolstered the offensive line and tight end positions.
Offensive line we're excited about. We talked about the Dawson Del Forge, a Wamego kid from Butler that has played an awful lot of football, and I'm excited to bring him back closer to home. Carver Willis we talked about. Taylor Warner is going to start on the offensive line. Taylor, I think, is as good an athlete as I've seen as a high school player coming into the fold for a college. Obviously, he's got to continue to gain some weight and get bigger and stronger, but excited about those guys. And then, the tight end fullback position, we have a number of guys that we feel are going to fit that. Will Swanson's one of them. Christian Moore's one of them. We're hoping Cody Stufflebean, he could play either D end or tight end. We haven't totally set on where he's going to start, but he's got the size, the length to be a really big, good athlete for us.
What did they see in Whit Mitchum, a late signing out of Tennessee?
Whit was a tremendous defensive player on film that we saw with his length, with his ability to bend, with his ability to be a really good athlete in space. We're projecting, and that's something that I think we've really done a good job of our staff of projecting guys, and Riles has done that a bunch at NDSU, of projecting guys that we think are long, good athletes that can run, and we feel that with Whit, and he's a physical kid, and so we're gonna plug him in at tackle, because he has enough length and enough height, and obviously he needs to come here, gain weight, and do those other things, but excited about the athleticism.
How important was it to have Nate Matlock as the first guy in this class?
Huge, and Nate's been a catalyst for Taylor Braet, and as far as continuing bring in other guys into the fold and try to communicate with those guys through social media. Nate's a tremendous football player, a better kid from a great family. They love K-State. They want to be a part of K-State. And we need guys, we talked about the state of Kansas and the Kansas City area specifically. We need guys from the state of Kansas and Kansas City specifically that want to be a part of K-State football, because there's such great players in that region as well as the state that I think Nate, not only from this year's class, but moving forward will help us in the future with other kids from the state.
What do you like the most about Houston linebacker Jay Harris?
The fact that he's playing in a state championship this weekend. I want winners. I want guys that have been at championship level or playing championship level. He and Tripp are both playing in a state championship game. Excited for those guys, and success breeds success. Winning is a habit, and those guys know how to win. Same thing with T. Denson, knows how to win, won a state championship. That's huge. Will Howard was Player of the Year in southern part of Pennsylvania, led his team as far as they'd ever gone. Don't make no mistake, being from successful programs is important, and that's something that we look at. Is it the almighty thing? No, but it's something that is important because the expectation is high here to be successful, and we want those guys that have been through that expectation and know that winning is the most important thing.
Is Ronald Triplett a defensive tackle or defensive end?
We love his athleticism, so we'll see where his body goes. He could play defensive tackle in a speed package right now like we do against a lot of the spread teams. What will his body do? Where will he go in the next year and a half? That's what we have to find out. But Tripp's a really good athlete.
Did the fast start to recruiting in this cycle make Wednesday go pretty smoothly?
The past few years, that's the only way I've known how to do it, to get off to a fast start and then continue on. Recruiting, it's every day. I mean, it's every day, and you have to stay on these guys, and you have to build relationships, and you have to, show them how much you're committed to them, show them how much they mean to you in the program, and so that's the only thing that I have known, and the guys that I've been around have known, and so we'll start right away on the 2021 class and move forward as far as we need to make sure that we don't take a day off in recruiting.
How important are the satellite camps to spotting new talent?
It was a benefit maybe to weed people or weed the numbers down more than anything. I'm still a big proponent on getting them to your campus because that's the key. You guys know this. Manhattan, Kansas State is a hidden gem. You got to get here. And if you get here, people are like, wow, this place is unbelievable. Whit Mitchum came here this weekend, didn't know anything about Kansas State. It's like, holy cow. This is really cool. Justin Gardner from Hutch came here this weekend. Like, wow, this place is awesome. And they were sold right away, not only with the people, but facilities, community, all those things. And so I still want them to come to our campus, but I don't know where that's going to go. I think the NCAA legislation may even make some adjustments to that.
Did recruits get more receptive as the season went on and K-State kept winning?
Potentially, but a lot of those relationships we built before we'd played a game. Without a doubt, we had a lot of kids here for the Oklahoma game, and I think that opened up more eyes, which is always a good thing to say, wow, they're close, or they're getting it done, or they see the vision and the plan that our staff has and says, wow, I want to be a part of that. And so without question, our success doesn't hurt us, but I still believe that your relationships with the family and with the young man are the most important thing in those kids making the final decision.
How different was it recruiting for an entire cycle as opposed to last year arriving so late?
You know the guys much better. That's the thing that, a year ago when we were here, that's why Taylor was probably up front and Colin and Blake were up front. I didn't know the guys. I'd maybe talk to them on the phone. Now I know all the guys, and whether I've been to their place or they've been here, and I've been in constant communication with these guys for some of them a full year, some of them half a year, some of them a few months, but somebody on our staff's been in contact with them for a long time, and obviously that is huge because it just goes back to the building of relationships.
Joe Klanderman recruited Texas for the first time. How did he do?
Joe can recruit anybody from anywhere. Joe's one of the best recruiters I've ever been around. He builds relationships with kids, builds relationships with families, is real, is genuine. Joe's a special talent as not only as a DB coach, he's phenomenal there, but as a recruiter, I know that he is as thorough a guy as I've ever been around.
Well, that will do it for this special edition of the Questions Podcast. We will be back on Friday with the overtime.
You've been listening to the PowerCat Questions Podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. PowerCat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
Call It What You Want is a brand new podcast part of the CBS Sports Golazo Network, covering every angle of the United States men's national team. I'm Jimmy Conrad, and I'll be joining Jesse Marsh and Charlie Davies every week for a passionate, informed, and unapologetic conversation about all things U.S. men's national team, like tactics, American players home and abroad, match previews and recaps, interviews, and more. As our boys get set to compete for hardware in the CONCACAF Nations League Finals, the Olympics, and the Copa America in 2024, Call It What You Want will be along for the ride to provide expert analysis and unfiltered opinions, so fasten your seatbelts. And don't forget to download and follow on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.